Welcome and good morning to everyone.
Morning.
Greetings of World Environment Day 2021. On behalf of Department of Civil and Environmental Engineering, Kolhapur Institute of Technologies, College of Engineering Autonomous Kolhapur, I take this opportunity to welcome each and everyone present here for this 2 days international webinar on ecosystem restoration, organized under Institution of Engineers India Student Chapter on the occasion of World Environment Day. I take this opportunity to welcome our today's chief guest and speaker, Dr. K.S. Lokesh sir, who is former professor and registrar of JSS Science and Technology University, Mysore. I also would like to welcome the faculty members, staff members, students of KIT, as well as hearty welcome to all the participants. We have got a very good response for this particular activity. Every year we are organizing various kinds of activities. So this is one of the initiative that we have taken ahead to create the awareness among the people regarding the environment protection. So with this, I welcome each and everyone for this 2 days international webinar. And I would request Assistant Professor Bharat Ingole sir to please introduce today's chief guest, Dr. K.S. Lokesh sir. Please.
Thanks. Thank you.
Yeah, good morning, all of you. I hope I am audible to all.
Yeah. Please go ahead.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. So first of all, I would like to wish all of you a very happy World Environment Day 2021. And I'm here to introduce Professor K.S. Lokesh, sir. Really, it's an honor to introduce him because we could not get a better person for this particular, say, program. Okay, none other than his. So he has completed his B Civil Engineering from Bangalore University in year 1982. Then he joined as a lecturer at SJC Mysore in September 1982. He has completed his Masters in Technology from IIT Kanpur and got his PhD from University of Roorkee. Earlier it was known as IIT Roorkee, and he got his PhD in 1996. He is the founder associate of Department of Environmental Engineering during 1987 and Department of Biotechnology during 1999 in the state of Karnataka. He has worked at different positions in academic field. Also, he has rendered his service as first registrar of JSS Science and Technology University, Mysore from April 2016 to July 2020. He was a British Council Fellow during 1999 at University of Loughborough, UK and Mellon, and was visiting professor at Connecticut College, New London. He has undergone a special training in the area of environmental economics as a World Bank Fellow at IIT Bombay and research methodology at ASCI Hyderabad. He has very extensive and vast over 37 years teaching, 30 years of research and 20 years of consultancy experience. So far, he has guided 15 PhD candidates, 142 MTech candidates, and about 54 undergraduate projects. He has published over 147 research publications in international, national journals and conferences. He has attended about 142 national and international conferences and workshops. I would like to mention it especially over here. He has completed 11 sponsored research projects and 26 consultancy projects. He's a trainer and involved in developing training modules for in-service engineers, training institutions, and NGOs. So such a great person we have today as a resource person for our today's program, Ecosystem Restoration. So I would welcome you, sir, on the behalf of Department of Civil and Environmental Engineering. Definitely this is going to be a very great session. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Professor Bharat, for your wonderful introduction. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and my dear friends who have registered for this particular program being organized by KITS Kolhapur, the institute which I know very well because it is being led by my own close friend and a very nice person, Dr. Karjini, the director of your institute. At the outset, I must thank Professor Akshay and his entire team of Civil and Environmental Engineering Department of KITS, Kolhapur, for giving me this opportunity to share my experience and my thoughts and knowledge, whatever I have gained over these 4 decades in the area of environmental engineering and science. Well, friends, everybody talks of environmental engineering, environmental conservation, environmental preservation, pollution control, pollution prevention. In spite of all these things, it's very important to know that we are expected to take care of our environment to the maximum extent possible as long as you and I live in this beautiful environment. Professor Akshay, can I share my slides, please?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You can share.
No, it's not possible. It's not showing up on my
Okay.
screen.
Just a minute, sir. Just a minute.
Yeah, please.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you very much. So nice. Is it okay now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Fine. That's good. Okay. Having said so, it is everybody's responsibility to see that the planet Earth is going to be protected. The resources on this beautiful planet Earth are expected to be conserved for our use as well as for the future generations' use. In this particular aspect, I think we may have to think twice before we do anything that is going to hamper or degrade or disintegrate the environmental compartments or the components. In this way, it's very important to see that the experts are going to be sharing their knowledge to the younger generation and to speak out some of the important aspects of conserving, preserving, restoring the degraded or going to be degraded environmental compartments. So, in this context, this particular World Environment Day 2021, complimenting each and everyone and appreciating the way in which KITS Kolhapur is taking the initiative in organizing such programs so that younger generation across the country would be able to understand and know the nitty-gritties of these problems and contribute their might if in case it is required to the possible extent so that the conservation and preservation and restoration of environmental components can happen on a very faster pace. In that way, I think I must congratulate the organizers. Okay, so my talk would be mostly revolving around the theme of this World Bank on World Environment Day, ecosystem restoration.
Sorry, sir. Can you
Yeah.
please go to full screen mode?
Huh?
Can you please start this slideshow?
Yeah, I started. Is it not being seen?
No. Actually, it is not full screen mode.
Oh, full screen you want, is it? Okay. Is it being recorded?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. Okay. Now it's okay?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Fine.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you. So the outline of my talk today goes like this, though it looks very long, don't worry. I think I have been given about an hour's time or so. Am I right, Dr. Akshay? Significance
Yes,
of world environment, just to remind our youngsters, because unfortunately I would like to narrate an incident here. Indian Supreme Court, that is called apex court of the country, had to give a resolution, had to give an order saying that the environmental studies and the Constitution of India shall be put as subjects for all graduate students, undergraduate students across the country. For first grade colleges, BA, BSc, BCom, BBM, whatever, BBA, whatever that you want to study. And later on, after 4 or 5 years, then it was also extended to professional institutions like agricultural sciences, engineering and technological sciences, then medical sciences, all these things have also been included. The reason being, there was a very nice observation by the Supreme Court of India, Honorable Supreme Court of India, that today's youngsters in India are not in a position to respect environmental components or environment in general. Very shocking revelation by the Supreme Court of India. So that has introduced a lot of chaos in the education system, particularly higher educational institutions. And then they started giving these two courses as mandatory courses. If they don't get 50% of the marks or the grades, whatever that you are going to be getting it from the respective institutions, you will not be able to get your degree. Quite a good decision, but very harsh decision, because we have 5,000, 6,000 years of legacy behind us, being India, subcontinent of this globe, which has contributed a lot towards others in terms of education, in terms of agriculture, in terms of Vedas, in terms of ethics, everything. We are the major contributors to the entire globe. But unfortunately, today we are at the receiving end because of the changes which are happening across the globe and as well as in India. Change is inevitable, but unfortunately, the changes which have taken place have not been conceived properly by us, and that's the reason why today we have reached this particular stage. Keep that in mind. It has very, very good significance, because everybody should know where you live, where he lives, where she lives, how she lives, what to live, how not to live. That's the reason why they have introduced these two particular subjects. Then I would like to take you around to the global scenario, existing or current global scenario, contemporary global scenario, in a couple of slides. Where do we stand today when compared to the natural resources capital of this great Mother Earth? Then unusually and uniquely, I would like to share the ecological footprint concept along with environmental footprint concepts. Very important. I don't know, most of you must have not have heard, but today you can see them in a couple of slides. Of course, most of you have studied economics, ecosystem, everybody talks of ecosystem. Kala, hello, sorry for the interference. Sorry, okay. Recap of fundamentals or basics of ecosystems. Probably you must have forgotten already what a food chain is, what a symbiotic relationship is, what synergic relationship is, how these sensitive relationships should be there. You must have forgotten. Just a recapitulation of all those fundamentals so that it will insight you into the very important components of ecosystems which are supposed to be taken care of today, because it has got to be restored. Then, of course, why these environmental compartments, environmental components, and other important aspects where you and I live in are getting polluted, getting degraded, getting destroyed. See the impact of these pollution, global warming and climate change of late in this particular 21st century. It is the one which is making a noise across the globe, including the nook and corners of India. So I'll have to see some of the important slides, why it is important from the point of view of looking at the degradation that is expected to, or the destruction that is expected to take place, or the destruction which has already taken place because of this particular global warming leading to climate change across the globe. Then we will have to come down to having some sort of thinking to control the damage or prevent the damage, if possible, prevent. If not, how to control the damage or how to repair the already degraded or destroyed compartments of environment or components of environment that you and I live in. And how to revival and rejuvenate the current ecosystems, whatever the types of ecosystems that we're going to come across. So how to revive them, how to rejuvenate them, how to restore them is our main concept today for the next 1 year or so. That has to be done continuously across the globe to see that these sensitive ecosystems are going to be revived, going to be restored, going to be brought back to its original condition if possible. Then what is the role of you and me? People should understand, we can simply talk because I'm not concerned with that. It's none of my pie. It's none of my roti. It's none of my bread. No, you can't tell as a citizen of this country. You also have a duty to see that something is going to be contributed from you. So let's see what is the role that you can play as a young citizen or a responsible citizen of this country in a single slide. Then to end my talk, probably everybody talks of sustainable development, and I am going to talk to you on environmentally sustainable development. What is it? Why is it important for the current context of pollution that's happening across the globe, with a wonderful planning concept called carrying capacity concept, which is a very important one for us now to rethink, reimagine, recreate planning system itself, so that we can accordingly plan to see that the natural capital is going to be conserved, natural capital is going to be not misused, natural capital is going to be definitely be prevented by degradation itself. Having seen all those things, probably I would summarize my talk uh, at the end. Friends, I love cartoons. Wherever I go, I take these cartoons along with me to make it somewhat impressive to the audience and learned audience, particularly. If you look at this particular slide, are the cartoon which is given by Mr. R.K. Lakshman, basically from Mysuru, but he had settled down at Mumbai and he passed away 4 or 5 years ago. R.K. Lakshman was a very wonderful person who created the common man of India, the caricature everybody knows. Times of India and Hindustan Times was putting that during the time of emergency, 1971 or 72. He created it. At that time, I was in 8th standard. I caught hold of it. It was very interesting. You know, that common man created by him did not have mouth. Because it was emergency period, he has created that. Nobody should have talked against that particular government during that time. That's why it has not got mouth, and it has got a wonderful circulation, appreciation, and popularity, not only in India, even across the globe. That was his creation. And normally, cartoonists are highly creative, my dear friends. I don't know how many of you are aware of this. I wanted to become a cartoonist, but unfortunately, I'm not that creative, I believe. Look at this particular slide. This particular gentleman who is sitting here with a pipe in his mouth is supposed to be an executive of an industry, some ex-industry. And he's doing well, it seems, because the charts behind him show that his ability to deliver profits are going up, production is going up, something is going up here, which I can't say. But unfortunately, the directors on the board of management, they come to know that this particular gentleman possesses fake degrees. Look at it. Look at the irony. Fake degrees, but he is capable of delivering. My dear friends, why I put this particular cartoon is, it is not the important thing that you possess the qualification like BE, MTech, PhD from premier institutions, either from India or from across the globe. It doesn't matter until and unless you have the capacity or ability to deliver the goods. When you assume an office of that stature, why the hell you are bothered about your credentials? Why the hell you are bothered about your qualification? Unfortunately, in India today, it's the wrong person at the wrong place at the wrong time, particularly in environmental prevention, pollution control, and prevention activities, with my experience of almost 4 decades. Imagine what would happen if a wrong person comes and says wrong decisions, and the entire thing will go awry, and you will be degrading the environment, which was very good, or which will be very good. In this way, it is very important from the point of view of, don't worry about your qualification or the degree from which institute you got it, IIT or this circuits or whatever it is, but it is your capacity or ability to deliver the goods whenever it is required. Please keep this in mind. Okay, a recapitulation of some important things about World Environment Day, why it should be 5th June every year, of Stockholm Conference on Human Environment. During that time itself, 70s itself, people started looking at the degrading things because of the onslaught of so-called developed countries today. Please underline this, so-called developed countries today. It might be European bloc, it might be North American bloc, it might be Australia or New Zealand or whichever the developing country that you are seeing today. That was the onslaught of their beginning during 60s, 50s, 60s, 70s. So the countries joined together and started looking at their problems, and they started looking at the human environment getting deteriorated slightly during that time. Because of the impacts of all these developmental activities, these developed countries started doing for their own, upcoming and quality of life improvement. So for that reason, they started creating this, and they wanted to conduct at least once in a year a very important theme at a very reasonably given time for celebrating this World Environment Day. This will definitely create awareness, and it also brings in what's happening across the globe contemporarily or currently. People would come to know why this theme is relevant to us today's life or not, or today's time or not, or today's period or not. So for that purpose, the World Environment Day has been practiced since 1972. Then it will also contribute for us, or to those who are celebrating, who are contributing, who are doing action for protection of environment. At least from today onwards, I don't know, about 250 plus are there listening to my talk. At least 10% of you can go with something which it can contribute in reviving or rejuvenating or preventing pollution and stopping, or what is it called, advancing the protection, the pollution of or degradation of environmental component. That itself is a wonderful thing. So please do that. So for today's theme is ecosystem restoration. I think previous year also there was something called rejuvenation of some environmental. This I forgot that. Anyway, last year also. Today, succeedingly to that, or in concurrence to that, they have given a wonderful theme: ecosystem restoration. Ecosystems are wonderful. They are very, very life-saving things, or life-protecting, life sustenance components of this particular planet Earth. So this is the time for nature to rejuvenate itself. We are not allowing nature to rejuvenate itself anyway. That I'll tell you at the end of my talk, because carrying capacity concept will completely revolve around that particular aspect. Rejuvenation or revival or regenerate. No, these are all very strong terminologies which we use often very loosely without understanding its nitty-gritty. So here, nitty-gritties of this particular word or terminology called restoration needs to be understood, highlighted properly, and it should be applied wherever and whenever it is required in a very correct manner. This is the need of the hour, and it should be completely environmentally sustainable development from here onwards. Otherwise, it will be leading to a lot of disaster. The UNEP, in association with developed countries, developing countries, underdeveloped countries, they take every country along with them. And today, this year, host country is our neighboring country, Pakistan, which was earlier our own part and component of Great India, that is called subcontinent India. So they are no different, but they must have gone ahead, or they must have gone behind India in several aspects which are not supposed to be. But it is a host country for having taken the initiative to conduct this host this particular 2021st day. About this particular country, only one or two important aspects I would like to. Country located in northwestern side of our country, multi-ethnic with more than 200 million population. You can imagine. Multi-ethnic, more than 200 million population, equivalent to our Uttar Pradesh population, almost 22 crores. Here it is 21 crore. Home for Himalayas, Karakoram, and Hindu Kush mountain ranges. You must have studied in your history books Karakoram. Even today, Karakoram highway is there, Karakoram pass is there, line of actual control is there, and LOC. They all run under Karakoram between Pakistan, China, and other Afghanistan. Country diversified with wide array of ecosystems and biodiversity, obviously. Punchline of that particular host country this year is reimagine, recreate, and restore. My dear friends, you have certain skills, like, for example, communicating skills, writing skill, talking skill, behavior skill. You have certain skills, imaginary skills or imagination skill. Creativity is a skill. Skills are there, but very frequently they need to be upgraded very frequently. As you go higher up in the institutions, to the higher level institutions, all these skills will have to be upgraded, modified, and fine tuned so that they can be used for particular purpose whenever it is required. So, reimagination is required. Recreating things are required, or creativity is required now. And after having imagined, recreated, restore the degraded ecosystem or degraded any compartment of this particular planet Earth. Look at this global scenario, my dear friends. Just about 2-3 days back, I was just browsing through. As per United Nations, environmental agencies, WHO, all these people, more than 800 million people suffer from hunger today, 21st century. We are talking of our developed nations, what do you call it, concept or state. Almost 1.2 billion live in water-stressed areas, including parts of India. Very unfortunate. Biodiversity loss and ecosystem degradation continued at an accelerated speed, alarming speed. Nobody cares, nobody is bothering, it seems. This is the current situation given by the world agencies. By 2030, my dear friends, world requires 40% more water, 50% more food, 40% more energy, 40% more timber and fiber. Where do we get it? How do we get it? Who is going to be the supplier? A retail supplier or a bulk supplier? Who is it? Our Mother Earth. Where are all these components? 40%, 50%, real 40%, 1.4, 1.5 Earth, second Earth. Where is it? We'll have to see it in ecological footprint. So very interestingly, keep these two slides in your mind and act accordingly so that these things can be reduced to the drastic extent whenever the time passes. Ecological footprint. I don't know how many of you are aware of this, and this is a beautiful slide which I used in US for teaching the course which I offered for 22 students there. The footprint is known to you because youngsters' footprints are everywhere seen. Go to malls, they have their footprint. Go to restaurants, they have their footprints. Go to bars, they have footprints. Go to clubs, they have footprints. Go to beer centers, they have footprints. Go to institutions, they have footprints. That footprint I'm not talking about. Literal meaning of footprint here is ecological footprint is the area of that country where you live is divided by the population of that country, and the area which is given to per person is supposed to be the footprint. Like, you have the plots like 40 foot by 60 foot, 50 foot by 80 foot, 100 by 200 foot, 30 by 40 foot plots that you build a house there. Imagine that. That is the area which is available to that particular citizen of that country to live his or her life throughout the life expected period. For Indians, it is 65 years or 70 years of life expectancy. One has to get whatever that is there in India. Like, Indian is getting around 0.4 now, 0.4 or 0.6 hectares, not 0.8 hectares, 1.36 billion population. Netherlands, it is about 4 hectares per person per capita. And United States, 3.5 times bigger than India. It has about 10 hectares per person. Okay. United States person 10 hectares, he has got it. But what is the significance of ecological footprint? That 10 hectares shall provide him or her whatever that is required to lead a decent, dignified, healthy life throughout his expected life period. Understood? A should get good water, pristine air, fertile soil, a place to live, reasonably very good and hygienic place to live, pollution-free place to live. Everything shall be from this particular 10 hectares. Our Indian should get it from 0.6 hectare. Very, very unfortunate. We do not have it. Some countries do preserve, say for example, Netherlands, Denmark, Switzerland, Sweden. I've seen those countries. Wonderful, wonderful. Their maintenance is beautiful. Their love towards an environment is fantastic, which you cannot imagine. We used to have, Indians have given them how to love how to respect environmental compartments or the environmental resources, now we have completely forgotten. So this is very, very important. And if you look at why India, because India's population is 130 crores, American population is 30 crores, 3.5 times bigger. No doubt they get more land. But what Indian get is very less land. But what type of land is it? Are we capable of getting all these things? Are we conserving all these components? Are we maintaining? Are we sustaining it? That is the question. Look at this right-hand side rectangular thing. This is very important. Very, very important. This prick line here, this is one Earth. We are living in this one planet Earth. And whatever the Earth's ecological capacity is getting exceeded using this curve. You can see how it is going up. Need from the resources of Mother Earth has become a greed for the population. Not only Indian population, world population of about 8 billion currently. It is going up. It has crossed about 20% about 4-5 years ago or 10 years ago. Today it is standing at 1.3 to 1.4. 40% extra we are demanding from one Mother Earth. Where do we get it? That is the very importance of this ecological footprint. We are not allowing the earth to rejuvenate. We are not allowing the earth to revive. We are not allowing the earth to disseminate whatever the pollution that we are creating and dumping into the components. Look at it. How can it come out with? And it will have its own, revenge. Like Corona, oxygen is not available. We have cut the keys and oxygen cylinders are supposed to be made available. It will have its revenge. Nature will definitely have its revenge if it is going to be continuously done like this. Okay. This is environmental footprint. Water footprint is another environmental footprint which you and I should understand and then take it very importantly. There is no water on the surface of the earth. There is no water below the earth, underground. How can we expect this tap to be filled with water? You question yourself. We abuse, we misuse, we simply waste water. Fortunately, India and Indians are lucky enough to get copious rainwater. We don't have inefficient water. We have sufficient water available, but management, like the first slide, there was no deliverer, no management, mismanagement. Water resource area is highly mismanaged. I'm sorry to say this and share this. Look at Israel, for example. Wonderful country, desert surrounded by enemy countries. They're doing wonderfully good agriculture practices and the conservation of water resources, fantastic. They are the trend setters in the world. So you should imagine that, you are expected to, okay. You're expected to take care of this water as an environmental footprint, which is getting increasing. Next footprint is very important, the energy footprint, the carbon footprint they call. The developed status of a nation is purely related to the energy that particular nation consumes. Nation means the citizens of that particular country consume. Depending on that, your capacity of development is measured. That is the yardstick for measurement of developing country or a developed country. Unfortunately, India is still in an infancy stage of developing country because our carbon footprint is just exceeded 5 tons of carbon per person per capita, which is the world's average carbon emission or carbon dioxide emission. And our consumption is also not more than 1,000 kilowatt hour. At least we have touched 1,000 kilowatt hour today. When compared to countries like US, 18,000 kilowatt hour, Canada, 20,000, UK, 6,000, Australia, 8,000, Russia, 5,000 kilowatt hour, and Indians have just crossed 1,000 kilowatt hour. And people are looking at India and China because they are the energy guzzlers, obviously, population. Look at the emission. We have just crossed 5 tons of carbon dioxide emission per person This is as per 2000, around 5 to 6 years. America has crossed 30, Europe has touched almost 20 today, and Australia has touched 20 to 25. And China has just crossed about 10 or 12. India is still around 5 to 6 tons per person per capita. We are consuming least energy, but population is high, showing large consumption of energy. So look at this footprint. This is USA, China. I mean, this is United States. China has taken over USA, and India is the third largest. If the European bloc is not considered, if it is considered, India becomes the fourth largest guzzler of energy today. The last environmental footprint, my dear friends, is changing footprint. Food is also a component of your environment or an ecosystem. Until and unless you are going to have that particular food in control, either growing, wasting, eating, everything should be under control. I think one of the prominent themes in 2013 World Environment Day was this: think, eat, and save. Reduce your footprint. Very important. You should know how much you grow, how much you eat, how much you should not waste. Toyota Kirloskar in Bengaluru, I keep visiting, wonderful industry. They have done a remarkable change, remarkable, achievement in terms of food saving in their canteen, cafeteria. They have a huge canteen where 2,000, 3,000 people can sit at a time and eat. They started a campaign, the Vice President of Environment, their wonderful gentleman, a couple of years ago. They were wasting in kgs, almost coming to 1 ton per day. And they started a month campaign. By the end of the campaign is over by that particular month, they started counting the wastage in terms of milligrams. You don't believe. On the day I visited, it was about 6.66 milligram or something like that. I don't remember. 6+ milligram, grams. Can you ever imagine? Laborers giving due respect to whatever they eat, wastage has been drastically reduced. That's very, very important today, my dear friends. Okay, now the theme basically revolves around ecosystems restoration or rejuvenation or revival. What do you think of ecosystem? You simply call, no, it is a larger than a habitat or a community or a forest. Ecosystem is completely whole, what do you call, complete by itself. It is a complete life form by itself, sustaining a lot of other life forms, let us say. It's a community of living organisms or the forms in concurrence with non-living factors or elements. Obviously, biotic and abiotic, whatever that you see in the structure. And at the same time, not putting together isolation. In isolation, there will be always interaction with each other. Biotic and abiotic components of that particular ecosystem will be interacting with each other, either internal or intra or external as well. These types of ecosystems can undergo ecological succession. Very important. Ecologically, they can succeed. Succession will be there because 5,000, 6,000 years ago it started, and there will be some change and evolution in that particular thing. And the ecological systems have got ecosystems have got the ecological succession as well. They change over time in response to both internal and external threats. Obviously, they have to. Today is carbon dioxide, global warming, Earth is getting fever. What's going to happen? They are facing it. Previously, there was some flood. Previously, there was some, no food, rains, no food, nothing like that. Various extraneous incidents can happen. Over time, it reaches climax community. It's called climax community, where it stabilizes itself. That's what we are now looking at today, my dear friends. The sensitive fabric of interaction with each other is getting prevented, getting cut, getting destroyed, getting destructed. That will have to be again rejigged into the system so that the climax community can evolve with a stable ecosystem which can give you food and life for you to live without any problem. Look at the major ecosystems. Probably the three giant ecosystems are plant ecosystem, animal ecosystem, and great human ecosystem. The person who is highly selfish and the person who can adapt to any situation. ADAPT, not ADOPT. Human is the only person who can adapt to any situation, any type of changing environment. Please mind it. They are intra and interconnected ecosystems. We need to depend on plant ecosystem, animal ecosystem as well. And both of them will also depend on each other. Plant and animal, and plant and human, animal and human. Look at it. There is a very beautiful sensitive fabric of dependency, mutual dependency. That is called sensitive symbiotic and synergic relationships. They are now at stake today because of all our human unplanned, intensive human induced activities, development activities, particularly underline that. Then we have terrestrial, that means on the surface of the land, we have the ecosystems like forest, grassland, tundra, very cold ones, desert. Then aquatic, of course, the surface water riverine system, fresh water, and marine ocean is the major ecosystem as far as the aquatic ecosystems are concerned. The structure of an ecosystem will mainly revolve around biotic compounds and abiotic compounds. There are micro ecosystems as well, which you may not understand, but you can see this. A simple example I could download is this. There's some fig which is taking care of itself on a very huge trunk of a tree. You must have observed this, but you are least bothered. But they are very sensitive in nature. Their dependency is wonderful. Their contribution to the ecosystem stability is very good. That you need to understand now. If you spoil this, the ecosystem's fabric is going to be spoiled. Probably it may not reach its climax community level. That is very, very important. So micro ecosystems are also a component here in the major ecosystems that you need to understand. Macro and micro systems. We have not yet gone into nano level systems anyway because virus has come. Now probably we may have to think of nano level thing. Look at the biostructure, structure of ecosystem, biotic components, where you have producers, consumers, carnivores, decomposers. Whereas abiotic components, air, soil, sunlight, water, they are abiotic components. Minerals, all these things will come under this. This is how a system where you can know ecological system, ecosystem works and how the dependency will be and what sort of micro to macro level organisms are going to be supported in such ecosystems. That's why, nature is beautiful. Nature is wonderful. Nature is nature. Nobody can beat nature. That's what I see. That's what I perceive. That's what everybody perceives, it seems. And that's the nature why we enjoy nature, because of all these things. You see anything and everything. If bacteria are not there, probably you and I would not have been living on this particular Mother Earth. A single bacterium, Escherichia coliform bacteria, a single bacterial cell of that particular species, if it is allowed to develop itself in a very conducive environment, what we call it as very good atmosphere, for it to double and gets doubled, fusion takes place before 24 hours or at the 24th hour, the mass of that particular single bacterium would be 4 times the mass of the Earth. Earth's mass is so many million tons. 4 into so many million tons. That would be the single bacterial cell's development if it is allowed to grow itself. But nature is taking care of itself. That's beauty. That's not happening. It kills after 15 half an hour. It should die. It should never go up again. That's the major problem. And that's the beauty of this ecosystem. And if you simply look at the functions, very important ones in an ecosystem. It supports life forms and renders stability. It is expected to regulates ecological processes, all types of reactions, whatever that you see, chemical, physical, physico-chemical, biogeochemical, all sorts of processes which are expected to take place. Nutrient cycling between biotic and abiotic forms will take place. Balances trophic levels, whatever the trophic level, whether it is cold, medium temperature, this thing, lots of things are there. Mineral cycling and energy exchange, that is synergic situation. What does it do in symbiosis? In this particular ecosystem's life, the beauty, what you need to understand is none of the species is going to be harmed. That's the beauty. there would be a lot of competition, but none of them is going to be harmed. And mutually beneficial things are more, mutually dependable things are more than mutually hurting each other. That's the beauty. That is the sensitive thing, which I call it as very wonderful, sensitive fabric of an ecosystem, where you have this mutualism, commensalism, parasitism, competition. Competition only you can have it in human ecosystem, not in other regular natural terrestrial and aquatic ecosystem. My dear friends, I don't know. Competition will also be there, but they never harm any species. That is a complete ecosystem now which is at stake because of our problems. Yeah, this is what is the mutual dependency. Producers, the primary consumers, then they go to secondary consumers, then they will have tertiary consumers, quaternary, and decomposers takes care of everything and back to normal. It's a cycle. It continues to happen. But primary producers are all veg, all green plants, green grass, everything. Vegetarians, okay? That's very, very important to look at. And this particular, the arrows need to be continuously going. Synergic, whatever the processes which I was talking about, the reactions which produces heat in the form of energy, and that also gets to be distributed. It will definitely goes from one form to the other form, one form to the other form, so that they are mutually depending. Supposing the producers do not have heat from sunlight, it would have been very difficult for them to produce food. There is some echo, Mr. Akshay. Okay. Hello. See, this particular heat which is getting generated. Hello. Professor Akshay?
Yes, sir. I'm checking. Yes, sir.
Some sort of
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I will check.
okay,
just
please,
a minute.
if you don't mind. Are you all with me, my dear friends? I don't know how many of you are there on the line. You know, I'm reminded of a particular joke. Normally, I go and teach these.
Sir,
state... Huh?
Good morning, sir. I am Askuli from Gulbarga. Very nice lecturer, sir.
How are you?
I am fine, sir. I am fine, sir.
After a long time. How are you doing? How is Gulbarga?
Yeah, it is nice, sir.
You're from PDA, right?
PDA? Yeah. I am from PDA.
I lost my friend here, Biradar, very unfortunate.
Yeah. Recently he passed away, sir.
We were together at IIT Kanpur, wonderful person.
Yeah.
Very unfortunate. Very good. Nice talking to you. So nice.
How
is Mise, Professor Mise?
Sir, he is fine.
Okay. How about other colleagues?
They are all fine, sir.
Thank you very much.
Is in charge of that environmental PG, sir.
Oh, very good. Wonderful. Very good. Thank you. So nice of you for joining this particular program.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Bye-bye. Okay. Shall I start? Akshay, now it's okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Thank you very much. So these arrow marks, which are going to take care of the heat, in the sense energy, from one level to other level, from one organism to other organism, one living form to other living form. That's the beauty of this, which is again under stake, because not much of a process is going to be completed because of the external threat of pollutants and pollution. A couple of slides on global warming and climate change, which you are already aware of, I believe. This slide completely explains what global warming is. Simple slide I have taken, my dear friends. The arrow which you are looking at, this particular arrow, which I am showing it using this thing, this should have been upwards like this. This is a narrow arrow. This narrow arrow should have come down to the Earth's surface, whereas this bigger, wider arrow should have gone up to the atmosphere. So because of global warming, or the layer which is reducing the escape of the surface radiated Earth's energy into the atmosphere, it is coming back again because of this particular layer, which is because of man-made activities, developmental activities, which is simple. And if we can do this to go up like this, Earth will not have fever. What is global warming? Earth is getting fever. That's all. it's more than 100 degrees Celsius, it's going to be there. I mean, 100 degrees Fahrenheit, if it is there, it is a fever for human being. So Earth is also getting fever. If the temperature of the surface of the Earth rises by 1 or 2 degrees, what will happen? It's very, very important. This not only changes the warming capacity of oceans and other things, it will also lead to a lot of climate change. So interchangeably, they are used, global warming and climate change. And climate change is better in my perception because warming leads to a lot of changes in the climate. What is nature? Nature is supposed to be the orderly behavior of nature, God's creation. John Keats, a young British poet, was asked by someone, have you seen God? Young fellow, 20 or 26 years, 28 years, he died. He said, I see God in the orderly behavior of nature. Look at it. Early morning comes, afternoon comes, season wise comes, this comes, that comes, rainy season comes, this season comes. Everything is orderly behavior. Now, because of global warming, this orderly behavior of nature is changing. During rainy season, we don't get rains, but unfortunately, non-rainy seasons, we get copious rains. Look at it. Drought on that side, and El Nino and La Nina effects are going to be happening. We are experiencing them. Very unfortunate. So they are all leading to the climate change because of this global warming. Why global warming? Let's see. Greenhouse gases. You and I produce a lot of greenhouse gases. Who are they? 6 are there, but I have clubbed halofluorocarbons and perfluorocarbons together. Carbon dioxide is the basic one, datum one greenhouse gas, because it will be produced in trillions and trillions of tons today by very many activities, followed by methane, which you know that, nitrous oxide, which you must have studied at PU level or 10th level, halo and perfluorocarbons, your ACs and refrigerators do not work without them, and sulfur hexafluoride, again, they are also going to be used as coolants. They are the ones which are causing the danger today. How are they going? In most of our industrial activities, energy production activities, processing activities, manufacturing activities. Look at it. These greenhouse gases will have certain life. They are called atmospheric life. If they are going to be discharged into the atmosphere or emission into the atmosphere, how long they live. Like carbon dioxide will live up to 5 to 200 years. Methane can live up to 12 years. Nitrous oxide can live up to 114 years. Whereas HFCs, PFCs, and SFs, they live up to more than 1,000, 10,000 to 2,000, 3,000, 50,000 years. That's why Kyoto Protocol concentrated on these 3-4 important, greenhouse gases to be reduced by 2010 by developed countries, by 2012 or 14 by developing countries like India and China, Brazil, BRIC countries. Very interesting. When they are allowed to be there in the atmosphere, any component of the atmosphere for this particular year of life, you can imagine what damages it can bring in. Not only that, these greenhouse gases will have a potential called green warming potential. Greenhouse gases will have this green warming potential and global warming potential. That is very, very important. Why it is high? In HFCs and PFCs and SF6, their potential is more than 24,000 times, 10,000 times, 11,000 times when compared to carbon dioxide potential of 1, if you consider that. That means I've given the remarks here. 1 ton of methane will have an effect on global warming that is 21 times greater than 1 ton of carbon dioxide in 100 years. Global warming has got horizons, 20 years, 50 years, 100 years. Now we are looking at 50 years and 100 years, 20 years have gone. All these 20 years, we have produced more carbon dioxide than required, than sequestered by our natural resources. I don't want to get into that because it's not climate change lecture purely. Okay, another one. The ability of a person who is in charge of this ecosystem's restoration. If I am in charge of this ecosystem restoration and sitting in there, like the person who is sitting and shouting at his assistant, don't you have sense? I am busy with this one, that one, this one, not with official work. All unofficial work, rotary work, honorary works outside. If a person of this nature will be sitting in that particular chair, looking at revival and restoration of ecosystems, probably by the time he takes care of it, it would have been completely degraded. So you don't do this type of work. When you come to the college, sit only in the college classroom and do whatever that is expected to be done by a student. When teacher enters, he or she should do whatever a teacher is expected to do. That is a very, very important commitment to the profession that you are leading to, the profession that you are working for. If you don't do that, probably we have to face the current situation. Now look at the impacts. A colorful slides, a couple of them to impress you people. Widespread extinction of species, which is a component of an ecosystem or a living form of an ecosystem, both aquatic and marine. Look at it, beautiful. They are going to be extinct. Disappearance of coral reefs, wonderful sensitive coral life form in an aquatic system, freshwater, and as well as some marine saltwater aquatic system. Very, very sensitive, very, very important. And it is going to give a lot of other things to other mutually depending forms of life. That is another important beauty of these coral reefs. Migration, conflicts, and wars, not only the natural degradation of all these things, but the social impacts are also going to be there because of global warming and climate change. Because of warming, there will be a lot of rains, there would be no rains, there will be ocean rise, there would be lots of other things which are happening. People will have to migrate from one place to the other, one city to other city, or one country to the other country. Crossing the border, within the border, and beyond the borders, these migrations leading to wars and conflict, this and that and this. Obviously, it happens. Even in political system, it happens. That is a very, very important thing that you need to understand about the climate change. It not only leads to lot of natural degradation, but social and economical degradations are also possible through such impacts. Desertification, all forests are being cut down, all forest land is being encroached by land sharks. Who is responsible? What's happening to the animals there? What's happening to the green trees are there? That's why we are now finding oxygen cylinders, produced artificially oxygen and give it to the people. A tree is not so selfish. It produces millions and tons of oxygen throughout its life and gives it to a person to live better. But we are not doing the care. We are not taking care of that tree, right? Today. Then more floods, obviously, more droughts and economic consequences. Flooding happens means the working functional infrastructural facilities are at stake. Japan, for example, earthquake every now and then. It has to rebuild roads, it has to rebuild buildings, it has to rebuild water supply, sanitation system, everything. India, that way is we are safe enough because don't have we are not seeing such a very, very, destructive thing except for the cyclones and others. Very, very important. Economic consequences are also there, which you need to understand very sincerely because all these are happening because there are changes happening in the ecosystem's life. Increased drought and heat waves. Mysore city, never I had seen 40 years I'm living here. Never I had seen 28, 27 degrees, but today we are counting 36 degrees, 37 degrees, 38 degrees during peak summers. Of course, for a week or so. But still, it's very unfortunate. For a period of 4 decades, almost 10 degrees of rise in the temperatures of cities that you and I live, and an average 5 to 6 degrees. Now, coming to the last part, damage control. How do we control the damages that are happening because of our own activities, human activities, human activities, human indulged activities, human related activities? Of course, to live, we have to be selfish. We need to live, but not to the extent of having gone to the abuse and destructing the natural cycles or the natural phenomena. Nature will take care of it. Now it is taking care of it itself because it is very, very important. Global warming is not a new phenomenon, my dear friends. It has to happen. Otherwise, the entire planet would have gone to a below freezing temperature where you and I would not have been living here. It will have to adjust itself because the carbon dioxide level should not go beyond 300 milligram per liter, 280 or 300. Now it is touching 400. Just by rising 100 milligram per liter of carbon dioxide, we are facing 1 or 2 degrees Celsius rise in the temperatures Earth. Earth's temperature is raised by 1 or 2 degrees. And because of that, you can imagine by 2050 what would happen. I'm not showing all those things, but I've reduced my talk because it is a separate talk altogether, global warming and climate change. You are seeing it. You are seeing it on the electronic media, print media, and other media where they are going. So how do we control the damage, particularly this particular ecosystem? Restoration. How do you restore? What is restoration? I think I'll have to bring in two important best examples across the globe, the restoration. One is Thames River, London. It used to be called as Sewer of London City, 80s, 1700, 1800s, 1900s even. Sewer, I have seen, I was there for 3 months in London, 1999. Thames River Water Authority has come up. They have decided that we need to rejuvenate, we need to recover the Thames River to its original condition. That was the decision. They did it. They have done it successfully, fantastically. Today, you can swim in the Thames River. Where it used to be a natural sewer of London City, today you can swim in that. That's one best example where restoration can take place to its original condition, almost towards its original condition. Another second example which I can quote is, my dear friends, Europe's Rhine River. It was completely dead river because of chemical pollution. Second World War, all those things have contributed. It passes through 7 major developed countries of Europe, Rhine River. Today, all those 7 or 8 countries joined together and they have rehabilitated the Rhine River based on Thames River of London, and now it is wonderfully rejuvenated back. You can go and see. Chemically polluted, one of the worst scenarios of river pollution, we used to give the example in environmentally in Rhine River. Today, they have recovered it so well, they have rejuvenated it so well, they have restored it so well, you can go and see and enjoy the beauty there. That's very, very, very important. Based on the similar lines of Thames water, thanks to late Srimati Indira Gandhi, in the 80s, she started Ganga Action Plan, where I was a part when I was doing my PhD in 90s. PhD, it was one of the components of Ganga, which I worked on for almost 3 years. Very, very interesting. Appreciate her initiative. But unfortunately, a country which has lost its own principles of environmental ethics and economical ethics, that has not done well. Thousands and thousands and thousands of crores of rupees have gone into Ganga in UP, Uttar Pradesh, that is Bihar, West Bengal, major 3 states. Nothing is going to happen. Not much is expected to happen because of our own janjats. I'm sorry to say this. Wonderful plan, very good initiative, but it has not been done. Now, Namami Ganga, this government has started. They are doing something. Let us see what's going to happen. So repairing, replanting the wetlands, creek beds, forest lands, fresh waters, farmland, and other habitats. Today, people are not there for agriculture farming. In my opinion, my dear friends, next 20 to 25 years, all agriculture related activities are going to be thriving. ITBT have gone now. They can be applied on these agriculture, farming, horticulture. They are the ones, and of course, Ayurvedic culture. They are the ones which have, say, a lot of future in this part of the globe and even across the globe, I believe. Take it from me. Those who are interested, please get into that. If you get in there, you can take a lot of bucks and you can definitely enjoy your profession of agriculture and farmlanding. Then, eradicating invasive species, very, very important. Any invaders like Congress Parthenium, it's called Congress Hullu in Kannada, Congress grass in English. Parthenium. Now, to eradicate it, a lot of other things have been brought in by the experts of agriculture. So like that, we have to eradicate invasive species in that specific ecosystem. Maintaining rain gardens, very, very important. Monitoring habitats in different ecosystems. Keep on monitoring them, keep on observing them, see what is going to happen if anything happens there, because they are highly sensitive. Ways to focus, in my opinion, preserving our ecosystems. Conserving and preserving. You can add a word called conserving and preserving. How? You can add one more word, restoring our ecosystem. Restoring, conserving, and preserving, sustaining that particular ecosystem. Look at this, African ecosystem irbodu, or sub-Saharan ecosystem irbodu, desert ecosystem. You name anything, you will have to have a focused approach towards these types of sensitive ecosystems, terrestrial, aquatic, both. Then you should address very intensively the environmental pollution. I'm not talking of very specific pollution, any sort of pollution, air, water, soil, all these they put together, any sort of pollution, you need to address it. Very, very important. Then accounting for ecosystems. We do not have any accounting at all. I don't know how many of you. Environmental economics is a wonderful area which I have undergone, and I've introduced 2 elective courses, both for undergraduate and a master's degree in my university. Wonderful courses, very wonderful courses. We are investing huge amounts of money in pollution prevention. Where is it going? Green GDP is negative in India today, my dear friends. Millions and millions of rupees are being pumped into prevention of pollution. But it's not showing up, it's deserving things. What is aimed at is not being achieved. The Ganga Action Plan I told. The Ganga should have come back to its original condition. It has not yet come back, not even 50%, after having spent 2,000, 4,000, 5,000 crores of rupees. Who is responsible? Where is the accounting? We need to be accountable. We need to account for ecosystems. That's very, very important. How do you do this? Energize the business, concentrate more on these types of things. Otherwise, imagine more than 800 million people are going hunger because we are not producing that much of food. Thank God we are getting food because genetically modified organisms and foods. Biotechnology. You have to live green, breathe green, go green. That's one of the statements which are expected to be looked into by our listing, and our focus area is only on these things. Okay. Last component, another, I think 5-10 minutes. Professor Akshay?
Yes, sir.
Can I have another 5-10 minutes?
Yes, sir. No problem, sir. Yes.
Okay. See, people talk sustainable development, right? From 1985, I'm listening this, almost 20-25 years back, Indians have also started this. What is it? This particular picture, why I have put it there, environmental sustainable development is the one. Why? Because they have introduced this green arrow, which is environment, where you and I live, and other ecosystems also live. Animal ecosystem, plant ecosystem. They are also going to live with us. Make this a fundamental observation in your education. Without environment, you and I cannot live. If you can understand that, I think you can understand it very well, and you can act accordingly to live your life along with your environmental comportments or the components. For that to understood by the citizens of the country, this has been introduced. That's why it's called sustainable. Not only sustainable, economically sustainable they were looking at. Now it is environmentally sustainable development. Why? Because this is a loop with environmental acting as resource for the economical development or the progress of a region or a country. Then the societal changes, improvement in quality of life is expected to take place. If the environment itself, which is the major supplier for all our resources for our developmental activities, how do you sustain your society? How do you stabilize your economy? How do you show your progress in economy? Very, very important. Very, very important. Okay, that's why it's called environmental sustainable development. Look at I have made it very simple, my dear friends, because I have done a lot of work and I know what to do and what not to do. I made it very simple for you to understand. Straightforward understanding. Principle of environmental sustainability, 3 columns: consumption of renewable resources, state of environment, sustainability concept. Where do we stay today? We are consuming more than nature's ability to replenish. Today, we are into a non-sustainable stage. That's why Human Environment Conference has started identifying this. We may lead to that. We may definitely end up with that. they started this World Environment Day. Make people to understand that you are not going in the straight path, you're going in this way, which is leading to a lot of trouble. If we are able to have the capacity of the nature to replenish, if we allow the nature to rejuvenate itself, then that's called environmental equilibrium, where steady state economy or steady state condition, nothing enters, nothing comes out. Our environmental principle is steady state condition. Even if X enters, X goes out. Whatever that remains is remaining same. Whatever the change that is happening is same. Delta X change is something with respect to delta T. Equilibrium. We are about to achieve this. We are almost coming to this. We have to come to this. Then at the end, if we use less what is expected to be produced by the nature, or ability to replenish nature, it's called environmental renewal and sustainable development. Water, you require 100 liters. Why do you require 200 liters? Understood? When you have food, 5 idlis if you want, why do you require 10 idlis? Something like that, wastage of 5 idlis. When you are happy, when you are satisfied with 5 idlis, be happy eating 4 idlis. Leave 1 more idli. That's the concept of equilibrium, steady state, or environmental renewal. We are into that. We are supposed to be to that. So look at the solutions. How do we do that? Current emphasis is pollution cleanup. We are cleaning up, cleaning up, cleaning up, cleaning up. How far and how long you clean up, man? The sustainability emphasis is pollution prevention. I don't want to produce any waste from my industry if an industry decides that. Zero effluent system from my city. Zero solid waste management system from my area or the ward. That's the concept today. That's the emphasis today. Forget about 70s and 80s where, waste comes and environmental engineer and scientist takes it and then treats it and leaves it. No, they are not producing waste at all. That's the concept of today. Waste disposal, but waste prevention and minimization is today's concept. Protecting species, we used to protect only tiger, but protecting tiger without giving him grassland, deer and other things, how to do? Habitat protection. That's why you come out with tiger safaris, elephant safaris, sorry, all those safaris, because to leave tiger in a very good condition, tiger should be lived in a forest area, and that forest will support deers. Deer will be supported by the food that the forest grows, and deer will become a food for that food chain. Symbiotic relationship is existing. Absolutely no problem. That's protecting species to habitat protection. Environmental degradation to restoration. That's why, theme is given. Restoring everything. Restore your Ganga, restore your Kaveri, restore your Godavari, restore whatever that is required. Restore your soil. Using microbial cells. Beautiful. Increase resource use, more efficient resource use. That's why Government of India, I think, is planning to have rationing of water and energy. You will be given 200 liters of energy per day. 200 liters of water, you do whatever you want. 4, 5 people or 10 people, I don't know. That may time is not too far. And you will be given 100 kilowatt hour, that's all. Use whatever you want. Nothing else is going to be given, 1 unit of extra energy. That's rationing, less wasteful. It's called less wasteful scenario. Population growth, stabilization. Good that Indians have become more sensitive to the population growth. It is now 1.8 to 2, but it has to come to almost 0 for the next 1 decade or 2 decades, so that we cannot touch 1.4. We cannot beat China. China have already started three children this thing because they want people. Only young age people are very 20 to 30% there. They want youngsters now, and 70 to 80% are old people in China. They are reviving their population growth strategy. India can survive for another 25 to 30 years because you youngsters are all there, about 65%. And you are the major component of our population. And you are the major protectors of our environment. And you are the trendsetters of our revival processes. Please keep this in mind. You play a very key role, very important role wherever you go. And lastly, depleting and degrading natural capital were being done, but we have to protect natural capital. Okay, that's the concept of sustainable solution. And my carrying capacity concept is very beautifully put in this slide. What is seen here is this block, rectangular block is Earth. And this Mother Earth will have both supportive capacity in terms of natural capital or the resources it generates in terms of biotic and abiotic resources. And at the same time, it has its assimilative capacity. It will come back later. So all these resources or combination of resources will become inputs or the raw materials for the developmental activities planned by the society or planned by an engineer like you or a scientist like you or a teacher like you or anybody for that matter or a society like our society. So these developmental activities will have the inputs or resources from Mother Earth, which is called supportive capacity. Then there will be an output after having used this, there will be an output which will definitely improve your economic stability and quality of life of people will be improved. So it's a very rosy picture. Everybody looks at this particular left-hand side picture. But what happens when the resources are utilized in the developmental activities? There will be some waste and residues. Where should they go? Who is going to collect it? Who is going to take care of it? Its environment. Either it has to go to air or water or soil. We are using all these things. We are living on the soil. And that is called assimilative capacity. How much of that waste, supposing if you use 10 units, 2 units come as waste. And those 2 units will have to be assimilated by this particular Mother Earth. I'm talking about regional thing. If that particular assimilative capacity is very, very clearly understood and accordingly you plan your activities, that is called the environmentally sustainable development. Carrying capacity. What is that carrying capacity? How much of resource this particular region of that particular country can support this much of developmental activity, including its assimilative capacity, so that there won't be any excessive production of waste and abuse of resources. That is a simple concept of carrying capacity. We have already implemented it, New Delhi Capital Territory and Rajasthan, probably Jaipur area, and Cochin greater area, greater Bombay area. They've all been planned as per the carrying capacity concept. How long, what type of industries can thrive, how much of development can be given to that particular area. They have decided based on the supportive capacity and assimilative capacity. If we can do that, probably we can definitely understood very well the concept of environmental sustainable development, but individuals matter. What is the path? Change is inevitable in the society. Change has to be taken care of because it's a developing competition. They need to develop along with other countries' competitive spirits. Natural capital will have the degradation because we use resources. There will be a lot of degradation, deterioration, destruction taking place. But to reduce and prevent, we have solutions, scientific and technological, and other solutions are always available. In between solutions, there are trade-offs. If it is for 10 years, we can extend it by another 5 years, 15 years. That is called trade-off. Okay, trade-offs using again scientific and technological models and the tools, and individuals matter. You and I matter a lot. If we keep on asking only the rights, who is going to perform the duty? It is the only constitution in the entire world, our Indian constitution, which has shown that the duty of every citizen of this country is to conserve and preserve environment. Mother of Constitution, UK, doesn't have this. No country has it, only India. Thanks to Dr. Ambedkar and his colleagues for giving us such a wonderful constitution. So we are now supposed to do that, and individually we have to matter. And being a citizen, how you should be mattering. Be a good and responsible citizen. Who is a good citizen, man? Oh, just because you are a rank holder in BE, you are a good citizen. No, you can be a good engineer. You can't be a good citizen and a responsible citizen if you act, according to your whims and fancies. A good citizen is one who is going to respect the law of the land. Wear helmet. Why should I wear helmet? I say that is the way in which our youngsters are acting today. That doesn't show a good citizen's character.
Institutions' responsibility now is to produce good and responsible citizen. Who is a responsible citizen? Follow the ethics, follow the principles, follow environmental ethics. That is responsible citizenship. If we can do that, my dear friends, we can beat anybody in the world. Nobody can beat us because our IQ is good. We are blessed with copious natural resources, wonderful people. We can definitely do things, but unfortunately, we are not organized. Citizens must follow environmental ethics. Don't spit, they go and spit there only. Don't urinate, they go and urinate only. Now it has come down anyway. Common civic senses, my dear friends. If you follow common civic senses, adhere to common civic senses, 70 to 80% of our pollution problems will be reduced. Take it from me. I'll give it in writing. Involve in knowledge sharing. That's happening now. Earlier it was not happening. What KITS was doing, SJC was not knowing. What SJC was doing, IIT Kanpur was not knowing. What IIT Kanpur was doing, IIT Delhi was not knowing. No, what is it? Share the knowledge, man. It is for the purpose of everybody, human race, to exist, and planet Earth needs to be protected by doing this. That's why Kyoto Protocol has come out with knowledge sharing business. Knowledge sharing business, and also there is a tool called carbon trading incentive. Undertake effective and intensive awareness campaigns. Restore whatever that is possible within your areas. If there is a small kere or a lake or a tank, go and restore it using kits. Put a board restored by, in Mysore, lots of people are doing it like that. They have restored about 8 or 7 tanks in and around Mysore. Beautifully restored by youngsters, students, and clubs. That is your role. Rewilding your gardens, your own campus, I have seen twice. Do it more greenery, make it more sense, make it more enjoyable by your parents or visitors or by yourselves. Changing diet, food habits, forget junk foods. Why do you necessarily change your own health? Making your parents change, your health also to change. Wealth and health will be changed because of this diet. It reduces the footprint of ecological footprint, environmental footprint. Look at all these things. Everything is in our hands. It is up to you to practice. Unfortunately, in India, my dear friends, today, people are more preachers than practitioners. People are more preaching than practicing. Unfortunate. That should not happen. Stop abusing, misusing natural resources. If you want 10 liters of water to drink, 10 liters. Why do you take 20 liters and waste another 10 liters? Adhere to 5R principle. First of all, refuse. If you don't want, refuse. Don't buy. Don't do this. Don't take it. Reduce, recycle, recover, and reuse. You can add one more R if you want. 5R principle is the current one, which is happening, which needs to be adhered to by our youngsters so that we can definitely save our Mother Earth, save our ecosystems, bring back them, revival them. Why don't we practice it? Look at it. Carry in and carry out park. It is probably in Netherlands, Switzerland. People go to enjoy in a park and then come out. But here, Markera side, Coorg side, what we have, the what do you call Switzerland of India, Coorg is known as our own Mysore district adjacent. Bangaloreans, IT people, everybody comes weekends and they bombard everything and goes. They don't have that common sense, civic senses. Civic senses. Look at this. Kids come with enjoy and then take care of whatever the residuals or waste they produce, and it keeps quiet, keeps nice. We need to practice this. Otherwise, Lokesh will have to come out with waterless water bottle, like seedless peanuts. Is it possible to have seedless peanuts? Cartoons speak a lot, my dear friend. That's why I love cartoons. Look at this. This person, Professor Akshay, is introducing, Akshay is this person, and to his director, he is introducing Lokesh, saying that he is the seedless peanuts producer. So next year, when I come to your college, you can introduce me, Lokesh here, waterless water bottle. Let's not get into that business. Let us have the protection of environment for saving the future. This is created by Lokesh, imagined by Lokesh. These two are our hands, and you have the forest greenery. Environment is represented by two colors, my dear friends, blue and green. So look at this. Fish is a very sensitive organism which can swim beautifully in an unpolluted riverine stretch. And then birds are very sensitive to any type of pollution. They can fly freely with a very pristine air, which is now happening lockdown, thanks to lockdown. And our duty is to protect everything because we are also a component and a living form of an ecosystem. Thank you very much. If you have any doubts, any clarifications, you're most welcome. Otherwise, I appreciate your patient listening. Thank you. Over to you, Akshay.
Thank you very much, sir, for such a nice and informative presentation. Thank you very much, sir. There are few questions in the
Oh, yeah.
chat box.
Oh, please.
So the first question is asked by Mr. Saurabh Joshi. So
Mhm.
he's asking, I think you have already addressed that particular point. That is,
What
what
is
is
it?
carrying capacity of ecosystem? You have already addressed.
Yes.
He's also asking, also, what is the role of carrying capacity in sustainability?
Yeah, definitely. It's a very, it plays a very significant role, my dear friend, because, say, for example, I take one example of air polluting industry. In Mysore region, they did an exercise, Pollution Control Board of Karnataka State and Remote Sensing Agency of Karnataka State, in association with SJ College of Engineering, where Professor Gowda, then the professor, and myself. We were all involved. They wanted to have prepared an atlas of which region can sustain what type of industry up to how many years. That was the first time in the entire country they did that exercise. Beautifully done for Karnataka. 3 places: Belgaum, Mysore, and one more. I forgot which area is that. I think Shivamogga area, Malnad area. They have come out with beautiful atlas like Mysore region, Chamarajanagar, Mandya, Hassan district, including Mysore. These 4 districts can sustain air pollution industries up to 2050. That was the disclosure in 2000 plus, 2003 or 2006, I believe. 2050, air pollution industries can come up to this region. Beyond 2050, this region cannot afford to have any air pollution industries. Water pollution industries up to 2070, water intensive disclosure. Because we have calculated the potential of water, we have calculated the potential of air, so that it can have its own assimilative capacity of whatever that is produced by giving these industries a green signal to go and work there. That is called as carrying capacity. It should carry its resources along with its assimilative capacity. When it strikes a balance, then it becomes stable. You need not have to worry about the degradation, then restoration, all these things. That is called carrying capacity. Okay, Mr. Joshi,
Yes, sir.
hope I
Yes,
have
sir.
answered your question.
He's asking one more question.
Huh?
At what extent the low-cost treatment technologies are effective over a conventional and advanced wastewater treatment technology?
I have my own examples. I did not give here. We have developed one eco toilet in 2005, my dear friend. Eco toilet, waterless toilet, or it is also called as dry toilet. A wonderful toilet where it doesn't use water except for ablution. You know, South Indians, we have the nature of washing after we pass our stools. Only for that, you use 1 liter of water, or half a liter of water is good enough with soap and other things. Otherwise, it produces human urine. It is separated, and what is it? The separate one is your urine. We have 2 separations. Human stool comes separately, human urine comes separately. Both of them have the human value of what is called resource, nitrate, human urine. It is called manure. That will directly be taken to agriculture processes. You know, this is a beautiful concept. I can share it with some other this thing. I think I did it in kids eco toilet.
Yes, sir.
Wonderful concept. That is the one which saves a lot of water. Maximum water resources are going to be conserved. Second one we have developed is the combination of aerobic and anaerobic processes. It's called hybrid reactor system. One of my PhD students. You can go to Jaydeva Cardiology Institute in Bengaluru. They have adapted it. There's several industries in Bengaluru. Golf course of Karnataka State has adopted it. And the private golf course also has adopted it in Bengaluru. Two schools, private schools in Mysuru have adopted it. Why I'm giving you this example? It is not energy intensive. A simple 1 HP, 2 HP pump is required where it can lift the wastewater to a highest level of 30 foot or 10 meters. From there, it comes down through the anaerobic system and goes up through the aerobic system and cleanses itself. Not more than 7 to 8 milligram per liter of BOD5 we have measured at any time when the research has taken place. And even today, not less than 5 milligram per liter is reported by those industries. It is wonderful. Low cost situation systems, think globally, act locally. That's what we have done. We have been doing it. If you can do that, a fantastic thing. Nothing to beat it. It has its own value. Yeah.
Yes, sir. There's another question from Miss Shruti Pandit. Shruti
Mhm.
Pandit. So she's asking, what different methods can we use for disposal of toxic chemicals into water bodies? Because even after treatment, some chemicals are there with less toxicity.
see,
And
First of
yes.
all, as per the Hazardous Act of Government of Karnataka, Government of India, CPCB, Ministry of Environment and Health, Ministry of Environment and Forest, now it is Global Climate Change. They have changed it into Ministry of Environment and Climate Change, Government of India. They have come out with an act where you are not expected to directly discharge or emit any toxic or hazardous waste into any part of the earth, not to air, not to water, not to soil. It's very well clearly said. But what you can do is you can extract, recover those types of toxic chemicals which are happening now, and after recovery, treat again and bring it back to the domestic wastewater level, then discharge it. It's a very lengthy process, very expensive process. That's why it costs you more, and that's the reason why recovery principles are being applied most of the cases. For example, nickel, chromium, gold, all these things are highly toxic chemicals, heavy metals they are called. They are now recovered by various industries. They can be reused into the system, avoiding the stress on resource use again. So that is the only possibility. Otherwise, there is no question of direct entry of all these things into any natural resource. Yeah, madam, I have answered your question.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Sir, one more question from Mr. Abhishek Karmarkar.
Uh-huh.
Cheetah will arrive around November or December in India from Africa. How do you think we should look after that, and what extra care must be taken by government?
What is it? Was it? Could you please repeat it again?
Cheetah will arrive around November or December in India from
Cheetah.
Africa. Ah.
What is it? Cyclone, huh?
No. You're asking about that particular animal.
What is it? You please ask him. What is that? Cheetah?
Abhishek, can you please ask your question? Can you please
Unmute
unmute yourself?
and come back.
Abhishek?
He's not there, I believe.
Yeah, hello Akshay sir. Can I
Yes,
speak?
yes.
Yeah,
Yes,
please go ahead, man. Mr. Abhishek. I'm
Yes,
hearing
sir.
you.
Yes, sir.
What's your doubt?
Actually, in 1952, India declared that the Indian cheetah has been extincted, and now from
Oh.
Africa we are getting cheetah back in like November 2021 or
Yeah.
December 20.
Oh, cheetah. Okay.
Yeah, about
Okay. No, here in India, it is not completely extinct. Some cheetahs are available. Black panther. I don't know whether you have seen it or not. In Mysore Zoo, they have one black panther, our own native region. Absolutely no problem. Transfer of ecosystems between the borders, absolutely no problem. But they will have adaptation period because the weather changes, the climatic conditions changes. That's why they have the adaptation period, ADAPT. They will have to undergo that adaptation period. If they are successful, they will be wonderful. Like in Mysore, giraffes have come from Africa. Nowhere it is there in India. So giraffes have come and they are thriving very well in Mysore area and Mysore Zoo because the atmosphere is so good for them. They are doing enjoyably good life, leading enjoyably good life, and they are giving the offsprings which are being sent to other parts of the zoo in India. It's possible, absolutely no problem. But it depends on how much of care you take and how you nurture them during the adaptation period. That's all. Possible.
Okay, sir. So, last question from Mr. Saurabh Joshi. So, what about CDM technology for developing countries?
Uh.
And what about developing countries? They were getting voluntary emissions reduction.
That, I have not touched it because that itself will take about 1 hour.
Yes.
Global warming trading, carbon trading. Yes, good question. It's not a thing that, every country should need to have, but it's an incentive. If you are a signatory of Kyoto Protocol, wherein you are going to reduce greenhouse gases on one side and the footprint of carbon dioxide gets reduced, then you will have to be recognized. That recognition is given through this called carbon trading. It's a carbon trading means millions of carbon dioxide, if you have reduced by using the non-carbon dioxide using fuels, that will be traded in the market internationally. And 1 million ton or per ton of carbon dioxide which has been reduced because of your activity, which is eco-friendly, that will fetch you $17 or $18 or $20 today, probably $50. And if you have got millions of tons, multiply by that into that much, you will have got the money. So that is the trade business or the incentive given to the countries who are participating in this Kyoto Protocol, signatories of the Kyoto Protocol. I'll give you the example. India, up to 2050, it can trade its carbon business. Up to 2050, because next 25 years, we have the reserve where we can sequester the carbon dioxide produced elsewhere. Like Japan has already got it from us, Netherlands has got it, and one more, Sweden or Switzerland, I don't know which country. It has also got entered with the Indian agencies, signed, so that across the globe, anywhere they can produce excess carbon, but that will be balanced by this Indian saved carbon. That's how it is. Sequestration of carbon dioxide doesn't have any border at all. Anybody can produce carbon dioxide anywhere, organic carbon or inorganic carbon. It can be sequestered in India or anywhere. That is how the agency's trading is going to be done. It's a very good trading, and European blocs are doing wonderful business using this, and it is possible that EDM can be done. And carbon trading is the best solution for it. Yeah.
So one more question in the chat box. Mr. Akash Yadav, he's asking, can you please explain about the resource description framework concept? In short,
Resource description.
framework, yes, RDF.
Resource description means what type of resources is he talking? It's purely natural resources?
Yes, Mr. Akash, can you please ask your question? He just wanted
Yes,
to.
sir.
Yes,
Please
please.
be clear, man.
Yes, sir. About record derived fuel.
For like IS 1893 static seismic cases or the response spectra cases, you will get the verification models for all these cases, and in the help actually you can find
Hello?
the
There's some class.
calculations. So I'll just show you one example. Loading
Hello.
IS
I don't know, some
1893.
class thing is
Yes,
going on. I
So
don't know.
hello.
someone have asked how.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. I
Yeah,
think
now I ask him to go ahead.
she was conducting a session.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yes, Mr. Akash.
He has also gone. Now, in my slide, it is very clearly said, balancing of usage of natural resources. That's it. If you want to develop any region, say for example, one export zone has to come up in Pune, Kolhapur. Export zone, you decide which products are supposed to be exported. What type of industry shall come there? How many industries shall go there? Because to make that SEZ in that particular area, these resources must be available, raw materials in that area. That's why they can give you SEZ there. Plus other things like communication, transportation must be good. Having seen all these things, they can plan on the resources available in Kolhapur region, and then Kolhapur region can plan for these industries and export the products. How many years? That also they will have decided. 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, 25 years. And they will be calculating this. There is a format where you can keep on uploading into the ministry's website or ministry, so that how much you use, how much you reduce because of your own practices, how much you reduce this use of natural capital, how much internal zero effluent system you made, all these things will count a lot. So that's how the resource planning and resource utilization will map. Otherwise, it will be very difficult. It's like infinite is nothing. Even water is supposed to be infinite. I mean, finite. Now it has become infinite. I mean, infinite. Now it has become finite. That's the problem. So don't be under the impression that everything lasts long for a long time. That's the reason why they have brought this theme, restoration of ecosystem, because ecosystems resources are now being misused and abused. That's why. Yeah.
Yes, sir. So,
Rationing, I brought the example of rationing. They may bring in rationing of water and energy first, then other things can also be rationed by Government of India shortly. Even petrol can be rationed. 10 liters per week, that's all. You do whatever you want. If they say, what do you do? Now, lockdown, I have 2 cars in my house, not even a single day I can take out now. There's no petrol usage now, fuel usage now. So, rationing, it's good. Yes.
okay, sir. With this, we have come to the conclusion of this particular session.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, sir, for accepting our invitation and delivering this very nice and fruitful session. Now I would request Mr. Abhay Singh, who is the student coordinator of this 2 days international webinar,
Oh, wow, good.
to give away the vote of thanks. Abhay.
Formality. Okay.
Abhay, please unmute yourself.
So my voice is clear?
Yeah,
Yes,
you're very
yes,
much
yes.
clear.
Please go ahead.
Abhay.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. I, Abhay Singh, take this opportunity to deliver the vote of thanks for today's session. On behalf of Department of Civil and Environmental Engineering, KIT's College of Engineering, Autonomous, Kolhapur, and Institution of Engineers, India Student Chapter, I am very grateful to our speaker, Dr. K.S. Lokesh, for sharing his graceful words with us in today's session on ecosystem restoration. Thank you so much for spending your time with us, sir, and enlightening us with your words on the occasion of World Environment Day.
Thank you
I
very
also
much.
extend my thanks to Director of KIT, Dr. V.V. Kajani, sir, Dr. Akshay Thowat, sir, HOD of Civil and Environmental Department, and Mr. Bharat Ingavle, sir, webinar coordinator of this webinar, and management of KIT's college, and all the staff members for their guidance, encouragement, and cooperation throughout. And a big thank you to all the participants for being there this morning and making this event a successful. I hope you all have a great day ahead. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. So nice of you. So please convey my thanks to Professor Kajini again. Thanks to Professor Thorwat and your esteemed team. And wonderful day for all your students. Take care. Have masks, sanitizer, and then social distancing. Take care. So nice
Yes,
of
sir.
you. Have a
Thank you
great
very
day.
much, sir. Thank
Great
you, sir.
weekend.
Thank you
Bye-bye.
very much.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye, sir. Bye, sir. All participants, tomorrow we will be having a session by Dr. Harshad Kulkarni, who is a postdoctoral fellow at University of Texas at San Antonio, USA. So he will be delivering a session in tomorrow's in tomorrow's session. So please attend that session, and I will share the feedback link during tomorrow's session. And after submission of that feedback link and fulfilling the attendance criteria, you will receive your e-certificate on your registered mail ID. Thank you very much for attending this session. Thank you.